Thank you. We gave a talk at the at Bitcoin Plus Plus. How many people were here or were there for that? Okay, so a few. So apologies if some of this is going to be redundant, but I did that yesterday where I got two copies of that wonderful Sensei talk from John. So
That is right.
we're all in this together.
Okay, so while we're spooling up, my name's Nate. This is Paul. We work at Voltage. At Voltage, we are building Lightning Network infrastructure for nodes. We have BTC Pay Server. We have LN Bits. Got a nice little suite of products that developers are going to find useful so they don't have to manage their own hardware and updates and upgrades. You want to build something on Lightning, you can use our API and the APIs that we provide access to in a really quick, easy way. So we'll be doing a little bit of a demo there, and we'll be getting started here shortly. So Voltage is non-custodial, no KYC. Logging in takes 2 seconds, and you have access to nodes, APIs, spool up as many as you need, testnet nodes, anything like that. And we're going to show you here in a second. If you don't have a Voltage account, it's really easy. Just go to voltage.cloud and put in an email address and a password and create your account. And then when you log in, you'll get access to the Voltage dashboard. And the Voltage dashboard is where you can, if you're running a mainnet node, you can add credit with Bitcoin. We charge per hour. So you can spool up a node for an hour if you want for a nickel and shut it down. Lots of flexibility there, which is actually pretty perfect, I think, for developers. So when you log in, you can create a Lightning node. You can make BTC Pay Server also. You have access to the BTC Pay Server API through us as well. And we got a couple different options. Standard node gives you full access to the Bitcoin blockchain, where Light node is just the block headers. So Light node is a little bit slower, but it's cheaper. So that's pretty good for if you're just want to make payments and stuff. But if you want to run a full routing node that's dependable and reliable, then standard node is what you'd want.
And one really important thing to point out, and I think this helps kind of understand the Voltage security model, is that when you create a node and you choose a password for that node, you're going to actually, your browser is going to use that client side to encrypt the macaroon. So when I click create, it's going to fire off and tell Voltage, hey, spin up a node. And then you will get the endpoint of that node and start talking to it directly from your browser. And the node will give you your admin macaroon. You'll encrypt that locally. The dashboard is going to do it. And then we store the encrypted macaroon. So what that means is that we actually can't move your funds. We can't look into your node, and we can't. We have no control over your money. We can just pull the plug on you. And the trust model there is that you're trusting that we haven't secretly forked LND and we're running something that exfiltrates those secrets. So you're still trusting us, but in practice and in fact, it's non-custodial because of this encryption.
Right, and because of that, if you lose this password, it's really hard to change. So don't lose this password.
Or 100% hard to change.
Yeah.
We could delete your node for you.
That's true. So all right. So we're creating a node here, and now the node is provisioning. Chase Bank official. Okay, I dig it. And this usually only takes a few minutes. And then we'll have access to our Voltage dashboard. And just like if you're running a node at home, you have access to all your logs, all your configuration settings. And there we go. Wow.
So I have my client side. Oh boy.
It's case sensitive.
Oh, no.
I can log in with mine if you really want, Paul.
Let's see. Just look at one of my existing nodes. I probably just typed in
Face Ripper 10,000 needs some love.
Oh, yeah, Bank of America official.
Okay, there you go.
I just go all the way across. There we go.
Yay. Cool. So what's so first thing you want to do is you want to write down this seed phrase probably. That's very important. We don't expect to be shutting down anytime soon, but if we do shut down, you will need that seed phrase to recover your money.
You can also export a static channel backup. For people who aren't familiar with Lightning backups, especially with LND, it's really hard to actually move this a node around, but you can. A static channel backup is a backup that you can use that when you restore it, it will close all your channels and give you'll have all the money. So
correct,
but you don't actually end up with all the channels. That's not technology that we have yet.
Right. So yeah, so within this GUI, we'll be talking about the API here in a second, but the settings is going to give you all the stuff if you want to have a minimum channel size, change your color, turn or off, key send, all the stuff that you could expect from an LND configuration file. It will be in the settings options. Yeah, it's pretty basic. We have pretty good descriptions. If anyone has any questions about this, if you're playing with it, just come find me today. What are we looking at here?
So this is just again trying to help you guys get an image of how Voltage is actually working. Like this is the browser calling the get info API in LND directly. So like this pending channels, active channels, peers, all this information that is directly inside of the node. Voltage doesn't have access to this. You just queried that from your browser, basically.
All right, next one down, we have Connect. So we do have a couple of really cool apps built into Voltage, but those that we don't, we have instructions on how to connect to if you're running it locally. Let's have a look at that drop down real quick. Just give them an option.
Oh, yeah.
So this is what we have. There's other things you can connect to. These are just the ones that we sort of have instructions for. So if you're running BTC Pay Server at home, how to connect to it. If you're running Lightning Terminal, if you want to sell liquidity on Lightning Pool, you'd use that. And so this is just how you connect your Voltage node to external processes.
One big caveat here is a lot of instructions when you're trying to connect to a LND node, because a lot of LND nodes are self-hosted. You will typically need the TLS cert, and so you'll need a path to the TLS cert. In our case, because we like have regular HTTPS, we got the fancy lock. You don't need the TLS cert, so when you typically for things like LNCLI that typically require a TLS cert, you just leave it blank and it just works.
Perfect. Cool. So we go to dashboards. We have two of them right now. ThunderHub is your basic management GUI, open source, great product, open and closed channels in a like a GUI kind of way. Keep track of everything. And then we also have LNbits. ThunderHub is going to be it won't be always active. It'll expire. So if you like boot up a ThunderHub and bookmark the URL for it, it won't work probably the next time you try to use it, but it only takes like 30 seconds to start up anyway. LNbits, on the other hand, once you start it, it's always running for you, so you can access it. LNbits is free with all Voltage nodes. We don't charge extra for that.
And if you're looking for a project, the LNbits provides like a really easy API to your node, like even more simple than like just using LND directly. And it also has just a ton of extensions. So, like paywalls and point of sale and Satoshi, all sorts of stuff. So there might be something useful in here if you need some ideas or some help fulfilling your hackathon vision.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it in a nutshell from the basic user dashboard point of view. If in the upper right corner you see these like 4 squares, this will sort of, and you hit the astronaut, that'll take you to like things like billing and whatever if you need to add funds.
See how poor I am.
API keys and that. Was that?
So we have we just kind of switched up our billing to kind of a credit-based system, and so you can add a coupon. You can pay up front. You can pay with Bitcoin, and just fuel your nodes for however long, and then your burn rate is basically how many nodes you're running.
Yeah, per hour.
Per hour. And so we actually have some credit. So I don't know how many of these have been redeemed so far, and then we also have this other coupon. So you can try one of them. If it doesn't work, try the other one.
Yeah. So this is for mainnet credit.
Well, it's credit. You can fire up a node on testnet or mainnet. We don't have regtest or signet. We're definitely looking into those. Yeah, so you just add a coupon and now you'll have credit, and that should be enough to run a node for a month or like a couple nodes for a couple weeks, that kind of thing.
Testnet, we do 7-day free trial.
Okay.
I think.
I don't know.
Okay. I'm 98% sure.
Okay, cool. Good. Yeah, you should be able to just sign up and fire up a node, and then
don't worry about
we'll
the
just
billing
start
thing.
bugging you about how we want money, but
Well, I just wanted to show you that because that's where you redeem the coupon. If you want to redeem the coupon, is in the billing area there. Let's talk about API stuff.
Oh yeah, so we have an API where you can create nodes. Voltage API. I always Google it.
That works.
No,
just go to, okay.
So the thing you just saw me where I clicked create and it took a while and then it created a node, like that's basically this endpoint, node create. And we actually have a guide for how to do all the stuff with because after you create it, you'll want to get the macaroon. Or actually, I think at the end of creating, you get this admin macaroon. You get the seed. You'll want to upload an encrypted seed back to us. And
the guide is at docs.voltage.cloud, I believe.
Oh yeah, those two. Yeah, so there's like creating a node walkthrough. Yes, Nate's written a lot of really great documentation. Nate, if you guys aren't familiar, has a ton of amazing stuff on being a node runner, which is something I really struggle with. And so I really appreciate him for that. I highly recommend. He did a podcast with Stefan Livera recently, and it talks about kind of the different personas, because I think you show up to Lightning, you think, I will run a Lightning node. But really, it's important to kind of figure out what do you want to do with that Lightning node, and that's going to really guide what you do with that, how you run that Lightning node.
Thanks for the shout out there. Yeah, for sure. Like you definitely want to have an idea of what you're doing. If your goal is to just education, to just kind of learn how to do it and poke around, that's totally fine. But if you're trying to do something specific, like maybe you want to use your node as a backend for a point of sale business, or you just want to buy Bitrefill gift cards, or you want to actually participate in sort of the routing community / just competition, because getting fees is a competitive thing. So you kind of have different strategies for that. So I've tried to put out content to talk about those.
And just at a high level, getting liquidity for your node, we have a product, Flow, for getting inbound liquidity, basically buying channels in a blind auction. This is a wrapper around Lightning Labs pool.
Right.
We're really big fans of Amboss's new Magma, which maybe you can explain a little bit.
Yeah. So for the longest time, the biggest challenge of bootstrapping a node is getting inbound liquidity. There's been multiple ideas on helping alleviate this problem, and the issue is, to get inbound liquidity, you're essentially asking somebody else to lock up capital for you, which over time might be more challenging. So there's an idea where those that have capital and are running a decent node, they'll be willing to open up a channel with you for a price. And I guess the first sort of iteration of that was Lightning Pool by Lightning Labs, which is LND only, which is a blind market concept where you say how much you want, how much you're willing to pay, and somebody else says, I'm willing to sell for this. And if it matches, great, you get a channel. If it doesn't, you just sit there and wait. That's sort of what Flow does in an easier way. I won't go into the details, but
the hard part about that, just so you know, is picking your price, because if you go too low, it doesn't mean your channel will never be open. You just have no idea when.
That's right.
Because it's a blind auction.
Now, compared to Magma, is by Amboss. Amboss is a really, really great way to see all the public information about Lightning nodes and other public information about the network as a whole. But Magma allows people that want to sell channels essentially to put it up kind of like Craigslist and say, hey, I'm willing to sell this if you pay me this. And so someone who's looking for inbound liquidity, maybe a merchant or someone who's starting a new node, can go in here and they could sort by fees, sort by size, and then they could see who's selling the node. So that, you know, you could click it and see just various metrics and stuff. And I wrote a guide recently on how to prepare your node to sell liquidity, to sell channels.
Is that on our
on the
blog?
blog, yeah, on blog.voltage.cloud. So a lot of folks are like, cool, I want to sell channels, but they're not sure how to prepare their node for that. So I wrote a thing on that.
Selling liquidity, earning
yeah.
sats.
Yeah.
And then you showed a thing. It was actually new to me. I learned this the last time we gave this talk about the, was it lightning.terminal?
Oh, terminal.lightning.engineering.
So for getting, doing outbound, like a way to kind of find a good random node on the net, a good random node on the network to open a channel out to.
Yeah, if you don't have any friends or you just want to stay like anonymous as possible and just find a decent node to open up a channel with. I personally think the easiest way right now is to go to terminal.lightning.engineering and just find a node that has these sort of 6 checkboxes. And it's just going to be simple things like node uptime and connection to the wider network, right? So if you want to open up a channel, you don't want to open up a channel to a node that's not going to successfully route your payments to where you want them to go. So there's no way to guarantee that you're going to be opening up with a good peer. It's just sort of like limiting the probability of failure.
Well, this is taking forever. But yeah, there'll be a list of nodes eventually, and you can click on them and learn about them. And they have various rating or various criteria on which they rate a node. There we go. Async is apparently good.
So so these are the 6 checks. So if you're opening up a channel, you just want to open a channel at random, just make sure they have the 6 check marks and they're probably a good peer. And another thing that people don't know, if we go up a little bit, you'll see this centrality thing. So centrality doesn't mean that it's connected to 99% of the network. It means compared to the rest of the network, this is better 99% of the time, which is a little bit of a different concept. A lot of people don't realize that.
Sweet. So those are some basics on liquidity. Obviously, there's a lot to that. How much time do we have? What time is it? Okay. Let's do like 10 minutes of dev stuff.
Yes.
So I have this is like my hackathon cheat sheet, basically. This is a project I have on my GitHub. It's a simple voltage demo. It's becoming increasingly voltage agnostic. Maybe I could change the name. But basically, you could clone this, you could run this, and you have an app that talks to LND. So I can, oh, no, this way. So if I do run dev and pull up localhost. So this will tell me, the first time you run this, it'll say the environment variables are not set. So who's familiar with macaroons? Okay, a lot of people. So macaroon is a fancy cookie. It's a bearer token, and it's how you authenticate with LND. So right, we're running LND on voltage, and you want to talk to your LND node. So if I go into Bank of America official and go into these connect instructions. So like here's an admin macaroon in hex format. And so if I have this macaroon, I can do anything with this node. I can move all the money around. I can close channels, I can open channels, I can do everything. And so because of that, you wouldn't want to put this into a front end, right? So because then your users can do anything that they want to your node. So I'm a front end dev, so that poses a small challenge for me. So this project uses Next.js, which has these API routes, which are basically like Lambda functions. So it means you can expose environment variables to them, and you're not exposing them to the client. So these are just tiny little endpoints sorry, it's not a lot of room in here. These are tiny little endpoints that hit LND and then use the macaroon to do that. So I'll add the admin macaroon, and then I'll just source this. And obviously, you don't want to leak these environment variables. I typically, when I'm doing like this kind of Next.js stuff, I'll deploy to Vercel, and they have a whole really nice interface for handling environment variables. But any like host will. So now this admin macaroon should be in there. So when I run this again, this is going to be let's see, local host. All right, so what I just did is I issued an instruction. Let's see, was it bake? Here we go. So I called LND just now, running my voltage node on LND, running LND, and I called the macaroon endpoint, and which bakes a macaroon with the permissions that you provide. And I gave it the invoice permissions. Because ideally, even though I relatively trust Vercel, maybe I don't want to actually have my admin macaroon up in the cloud somewhere. I could just give them my invoice macaroon, and now all that can really do is this limited set of things, which the main thing I need is the ability to create new invoices so that I can charge people money. So I've got this hex now, so I add that to my environment local, and obviously I could have done this all in one fell swoop. Like voltage shows you could get your invoice macaroon up here. We also have a read-only macaroon, but I just kind of trying to get the users of this repo in the mindset of trying to protect these secrets and understanding these secrets. So if we source the environment again, we run dev again, and now we can create a payment request because it saw that it has an invoice macaroon. And so there we go. There's a decoder I always have to look up. It's not this one. Oh, it is this one. lndcode.com. So sweet. So anyways, if you have an idea for a Lightning project and you don't quite have an architecture in mind, I built this exactly as like a way to kind of cheat at a hackathon and get started or hit the ground running. It's not cheating. It's building. So anyways, check this repo out. I also talk about in here testnet. And testnet in Lightning is kind of annoying because testnet blocks come at a really random time. Anybody who's running a testnet node probably doesn't have a lot of incentive to keep it up. So routing sucks on testnet Lightning. Everything sucks testnet Lightning. But there's a really nice service, this Lightning faucet, that will open a testnet channel to you. So we were talking about liquidity. This is the testnet version of it. You can also, do it the hard way, which is just get some testnet coins, move them to your testnet node, and then open channels. But I mean, that's the main thing. But because that is so hard, I actually end up doing a lot of dev using Polar. Who here has used Polar? Oh, wonderful. Yeah. So Polar is a way to run a network of Bitcoin things like really easily with like drag and drop. I think I just messed with my Docker stuff just recently, so I probably completely broke it. But you can just drag in new nodes. You can just create let's see, yeah, I'll testing 1, 2, 3. So I want 2 LND nodes, a Core Lightning node, Eclair node, and a Bitcoin Core node. It's going to download the Docker containers for all of these. And you just click on a node and you'll get all the connect information that you need. You can do actions like start and stop, or even create invoice right there. You can like drag like channels between them. Because it's reg test, you can mine a bunch of fake Bitcoin for yourself and then disperse it among these nodes. So I highly recommend this for working on Lightning projects. I think it is like the best UX of any Bitcoin project in the world, in my opinion. I think Polar is just so special. I'm really grateful for it. I mentioned a couple other things down here. I'm just using the REST API in my sample project for talking to LND. But Bosworth has a LN service project. The main thing is this doesn't run in the browser. This is meant for running node side, but it wraps the gRPC interface, which is really the native way of talking to LND is gRPC. It wraps that in a nice, relatively easy to use JavaScript library. One of the big things why you would want something like this instead of just pinging over and over with REST is subscription. So you can subscribe to things. So for instance, if you subscribe to Invoice, you can be notified if an invoice is updated, right? So an invoice was paid, might be something that your app could presumably care about when you're writing a Lightning app. So you could then maybe expose that to the front end as like over WebSockets or something like that. And then I think we mentioned LNBits. LNBits has a pretty simple API you might want to use. BTC Pay Server, I've used it as like a front end to a Lightning node because of it has webhooks, and it's not my favorite way I've ever used webhooks, but it worked, and I actually used it for the OpenSats site. So this is another one of those Next.js API routes. And when you create an invoice on OpenSats, it pops this up and it adds this metadata because OpenSats had a requirement of for tax deductible donations, you need like a receipt that says what it was and for how much. So I passed this metadata along to BTC Pay Server, which then actually passes it along to Zapright, which actually sends the receipt email. So there's a lot of moving parts, but BTC Pay Server was able to be that webhook that fires when a payment is completed. So it solved that problem. And another thing I recommend for development is Nagiri. This would be almost like a command line version of Polar with some nice sane defaults. You run this, it spins up a bunch of Docker containers, and there's some really easy command line controls like Nagiri faucet, or fund the core Lightning node, Nagiri faucet, C Lightning, So especially if you wanted to do some sort of automated testing of your apps or something like that, or you just more comfortable in the command line than dragging little lines around, I think this is a great way to do Bitcoin development. And now that they have Lightning stuff, it's a great way to do Lightning development. So anyways, that's a lot of random information about how to build Lightning apps. If anybody has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them right now, or anything that was like fuzzy or I went over too quickly or it just doesn't make any sense, seems unreasonable. Otherwise, otherwise, I'm really happy. If anybody has any questions, if you're stuck,
we'll be here all day.
Yeah, if you're stuck, we'll be here all day. I really hate the frustration, especially with JavaScript, of being stuck on something that seems simple. So I'm happy to try to help, but I'll probably get frustrated in 15 minutes and give up. But if I can solve your problem in 15 minutes, I'd be happy to.
Cool. Yeah. So thanks for listening. Again, all caps voltage_plus is one of our coupon codes you can redeem in the billing section of your Voltage dashboard, or BTC++. And we have a pretty cool growing Discord community for devs or users, anyone. If you're building an app at home and need a quick answer to a question you're having problems with, voltage.cloud/discord to join. And that's all I got.
Happy hacking.
Yeah.